Folks, would you renegotiate a price which has already been agreed to? I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending July 17, 2024. We sold the property representing the seller about 4 months ago, and closing was recent, just a few weeks ago. Now, just before closing, a few days before closing, I get an email from the agent representing the buyer, and the email read, "Please see attached recent sales." My client, the buyer, is looking for a $50,000 reduction in purchase price in order to complete this transaction. So understand, folks, it's just a few days before closing, and this email is basically telling me that prices are lower in the area, which I got to say is a fact. Prices were $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 lower in that neighborhood now. So it's a fact what the agent is stating. But their client, the buyer, now wants that compensation, wants that reduction in purchase price. Now, the agreement of purchase and sale was signed 4 months prior. It was agreed to by both parties. It was firm and binding. But the buyer sees that the market has changed and wants a different price now. Would you agree to that if you were the seller? Think about that for a second. The market is different. Well, just to give you a bit more context, not that I even know that it's relevant, but that most of that everything that was in the agreement, a lot of it was based on what the buyer wanted. The buyer wanted a longer closing. My seller was flexible, said, sure, we'll give them the closing they want. That buyer was negotiating that price. We agreed to their price. It wasn't the buyer coming up to the seller's price. That was the buyer's price. They negotiated the price we were originally asking for. So a lot of these things was agreed to. The seller agreed to what the buyer wanted. And now things are not going in the buyer's favor, particularly the market, and the buyer wants to renegotiate, change their mind. Now, let me ask you, if prices had gone up, would the seller be okay to just say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, hey, the market is up $50,000 from when you purchased, so if you want to buy this house, give me more money? Can the seller do that? Of course not. The same reason the buyer can't be doing this. I mean, they could ask for whatever they want, but it just doesn't fly. Now, there has been in the past not recent, but legitimate reasons that the buyer may need or ask for a reduction in price. We've seen it before where, say, one of the buyer couples, one of them loses their job and they're not qualifying for the mortgage anymore. Or legitimately prices like they just come down so fast and the bank is just not appraising the homes at the same price anymore, and the buyers are stuck because they can't get the mortgage. They legitimately cannot close. So in fear of just not closing and being in breach of not closing, they ask for the seller, please reduce or we cannot close. Even in those situations where you can feel sorry for the buyer or you could relate to their situation thinking, yeah, that's a tough spot to be in. Even in those, rarely does the seller agree to changing their price. This person is just thinking, oh, things are changed, things are different. You need to reduce your price for me to close. Why does this happen? Well, I'll tell you why. I see it out there. The agreement of purchase and sale is not taken seriously. Buyers are signing these many times and not understanding that it's a firm and binding contract that is extremely difficult, extremely rare to get out of. And if you're talking the purchase price, that's one of the major components. That's like the essence of the agreement of purchase and sale, the purchase price. And the buyer just thinks, oh, well, things have changed. Change your price, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Well, sellers have also made their plans based on the purchase price. And our client actually went on and we bought another property for them based on the selling price of their home. They, even if they wanted to, sometimes can't just make changes if they wanted to. So for buyers to just think they could change their mind, folks, like, these are serious agreements. You are signing legal and binding contracts. You're not in court signing in front of a judge with your hand on the Bible, but maybe you should look at it that way because it is a firm and binding agreement when both parties agree. And it's extremely difficult to make any changes unless both parties agree. And if you are trying to get one other side to change their price, good luck. You need to have the foresight before you sign that this is what you're committing to, no matter what happens outside of your thoughts. Whatever happens in the market, whatever happens with interest rates, whatever happens with your job, whatever happens anywhere, has nothing to do with that agreement of purchase and sale. It's its own document. You've agreed. Sign it only if you're serious about fulfilling your obligations that are clearly put and written in the agreement of purchase and sale. That's the kind of advice you should be getting, you should be receiving when you go to sign this document. If you think this video can help somebody pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. The latest home prices and stats for the city of Toronto. We've got detached properties. Those prices look like they're coming down. Semis in towns. I do have condo here just for reference to compare average sold price. But this show is all about city of Toronto freehold properties. We're going to start off with detached market. 135 detached properties were sold for week ending July 17th. 23 of those were at $2 million or more. Sales looks like they're trending down. Now, I should say July, August are normally softer months. We tend to see almost every year sales trend down and prices trending down around this time of year anyways. So sales are trending down. Average sold price, it's coming down pretty steep actually. Average sold price for week ending July 17th is $1,473,000. We were high 1.7s not too long ago, almost 1.8, now at 1,473. Compared to last year, 1,473 is 5% lower than where the prices were a year ago. The median price, 6% lower than where we were a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. It's pretty clear average price and median price are trending down. 135 we said were sold, 38% sold at list price or more. That percentage is trending down. 320 were listed. Active listings overall, I've got 3 months on the board here, but overall active listings have been increasing, but over the span of the last month and a half, there are over 2,000 active detached properties listed for sale. Months of inventory up from the previous week, now sitting at 3.4 months of inventory. Months of inventory has been climbing up. Prices have been trending down. That's normally the behavior between months of inventory and prices, and where pretty much sitting inside a balanced market right now when it comes to overall detached properties. But that's the whole city. So let's break it down a little bit further. I've got 9 sections on the map here for the city of Toronto. The whole city, 3.4 months of inventory, but some of these other areas are outperforming all of Toronto. So Scarborough, for example, 52 detached properties were sold. Scarborough, on its own, accounts for 39% of all the sales across the city of Toronto. Months of inventory is sitting at 2 months of inventory. We've got Etobicoke, 26 sales. Average price is a little over 1.6 million, 2.5 months of inventory. There's not a lot of areas doing better than a 3.4, but then you've got some of these other spots going the other way. York Mills, Rosedale only had 8 properties sold. Average price is over $3 million. They're at 11.9 months of inventory, almost a year of months of inventory if it stays at the same buying pace that it's at, that section. That's the whole city broken down into 9 different sections. Semi-detached properties, 26 were sold. 9 of those were at $1.5 million or more. So 35% of all the sales of semis were at $1.5 million or more. It's no wonder average sold price has shot up to $1,372,000. Sales, however, overall have been trending down. Compared to last year, 1,372 is 7% higher year over year. The median price of 1,335 is 13% higher than where it was this time a year ago. Months of inventory climbed up to 3.6 months of inventory. That's been trending up for semi-detached properties. Townhouses, 17 townhomes were sold. These are freehold townhomes. 2 of them were sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price way down from the previous week to $1,202,000. 1,202 is 5% higher year over year. The median price of 1,135 is 4% higher than where it was this time a year ago. Months of inventory up a little bit from the previous week, now at 2.9 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. We're pretty much in a balanced market. Condos, that's a whole other show. That's tomorrow's show. But for the freehold market, 3.4 months of inventory, 3.6, 2.9 is just right at the borderline. Pretty much overall, the average is a balanced market, There'll be some pocket that might approach a buyer's market. There'll be others that it could be a bit of a seller's market. But if you're looking at an overall average and you're kind of wondering what's the market like, it's pretty much a balanced market when it comes to detached properties across the city of Toronto. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.